27. The Virtuous.
As in the previous two chapters, Zarathustra is focusing on a certain group of people. Here he is talking about the virtuous.
With thunder and heavenly fireworks must one speak to indolent and somnolent senses. But beauty's voice speaketh gently. It appealeth only to the most awakened souls.
Zarathustra is changing his tone for this discourse. He will speak more softly, because the virtuous are people that he respects. They are more awakened, and don't need to be clobbered over the head with his usual acerbic tongue. However, there is something about many of them that offends his aesthetic sense.
Gently vibrated and laughed unto me today my buckler. It was beauty's holy laughing and thrilling. At you, ye virtuous ones, laughed my beauty today, and thus came its voice unto me. They want to be paid besides. Ye want to be paid besides, ye virtuous ones. You want reward for virtue, and heaven for earth, and eternity for your today.
The problem he has is that many virtuous people expect to be rewarded for their virtue. And this, as we shall see, means that they don't really get the true value of virtue.
And now ye upbraid me for teaching that there is no reward giver nor paymaster, and verily I do not even teach that virtue is its own reward. Ah, this is my sorrow. Into the basis of things have reward and punishment been insinuated, and now even into the basis of your souls, ye virtuous ones.
Zarathustra teaches that there is no God, and therefore no one to reward you for your virtue. But he goes even further than that. Some people say that you don't need to be rewarded, since virtue is its own reward. But even that, he says, shows that they still did not liberate themselves from religious thought, and are still thinking in terms of reward and punishment.
But like the snout of the boar shall my word grub up the basis of your souls. A plowshare will I be called by you. All the secrets of your heart shall be brought to light, and when ye lie in the sun, grubbed up and broken, then will also your falsehood be separated from your truth. For this is your truth. Ye are too pure for the filth of the words, vengeance, punishment, recompense, retribution.
Zarathustra wants to destroy their way of thinking, because he thinks it will be good for them. Virtuous people are too good to be held down by these notions of reward and punishment. He wants them to learn to separate their truth, which is their virtue, from the lie, which is this reward and punishment mindset. Once they purify it out of their system, they will be happier.
Ye love your virtue as a mother loveth her child. But when did one hear of a mother wanting to be paid for her love? It is your dearest self, your virtue. The ring's thirst is in you. To reach itself again struggleth every ring, and turneth itself.
Here is the first time we meet the metaphor of the ring, which will become crucial later in the book. To understand it, think of a road, which you walk to reach a goal at the end. But if the road is ring-shaped, you will only return to the same spot. The ring, then, is a metaphor for something that aspires only itself, that thirsts only for itself, and doesn't need anything else. To be sure, when people say that virtue is its own reward, they essentially mean the same thing. What Zarathustra objects to about that phrase is that it couches it in the language of punishment and reward, and this language, he believes, prevents you from fully enjoying your virtue for its own sake. Your virtue is the better part of you, that you should love and cultivate for no other reason.
And like the star that goeth out, so is every work of your virtue. Ever is its light on its way and travelling, and when will it cease to be on its way? Thus is the light of your virtue still on its way, even when its work is done. Be it forgotten and dead, still its ray of light liveth and travelleth. That your virtue is yourself, and not an outward thing, a skin or a cloak, that is the truth from the basis of your souls, ye virtuous ones.
This goes back to things we heard before. You should not live by the light of someone or something else, but become like a star that shines its own light. When you are virtuous, yourself is the one that is in charge and determines its rules, and your virtuous acts shine a light for others.
But sure enough, there are those to whom virtue meaneth writhing under the lash, and ye have hearkened too much unto their crying. And others are there who call virtue the slothfulness of their vices, and when once their hatred and jealousy relax the limbs, their justice becometh lively and rubbeth its sleepy eyes.
Until now he spoke of those he regards as virtuous. From here, he starts to talk about those who are regarded as virtuous by themselves, and by society, yet are not truly so. First he talks about those who act virtuous only to obey an external code. Then about those who act virtuous only when the hateful side is dormant. None of them are truly virtuous.
And others are there who are drawn downwards, their devils draw them. But the more they sink, the more ardently gloweth their eye, and the longing for their God. Ah, their crying also hath reached your ears, ye virtuous ones. What I am not, that is God to me, and virtue.
Here he talks of those who have not mastered their cravings, and therefore cannot be virtuous. Instead, they create a god that represents what they cannot be, and worship it. They believe that this makes them virtuous.
And others are there who go along heavily and creakingly, like carts taking stones downhill. They talk much of dignity and virtue. Their drag they call virtue. And others are there who are like 8-day clocks when wound up. They tick and want people to call ticking virtue. Verily, in those have I mine amusement. Wherever I find such clocks, I shall wind them up with my mockery, and they shall even whir thereby.
The first group of people he talks of here seems to be those who follow a code of respectability, believing that this is what virtue is about. The second group are those who are really uptight about the way one should behave. He equates them to 8-day clocks, which were clocks that had to be wound up every week. But they are wound up all the time, which is why it is fun to incense them with his outrageousness.
And others are proud of their modicum of righteousness, and for the sake of it do violence to all things, so that the world is drowned in their unrighteousness. Ah, how ineptly cometh the word virtue out of their mouth, and when they say, I am just, it always soundeth like, I am just revenged. With their virtues they want to scratch out the eyes of their enemies, and they elevate themselves only that they may lower others.
Here he talks about the self-righteous, those who use their own righteousness as a whip over others. They believe that they serve justice, but they actually only satisfy their base cravings for revenge and power. There's nothing virtuous about them.
And again there are those who sit in their swamp and speak thus from among the bulrushes, virtue. That is to sit quietly in the swamp. We bite no one, and go out of the way of him who would bite, and in all matters we have the opinion that is given us.
Here he speaks of those who believe that virtue is doing no evil. However, this means that they refrain from doing anything, and thus do not develop their spirit and do not become virtuous. They end up just following public opinion, which is rarely virtuous.
And again there are those who love attitudes, and think that virtue is a sort of attitude. Their knees continually adore, and their hands are eulogies of virtue, but their heart knoweth naught thereof.
Again, it's the same message. To be truly virtuous, your virtue has to be part of who you are. It is something that you develop in the process of developing your spirit, and it grows along with you. It cannot be a form of acquired behavior, or belief, or attitude. It has to come from you.
And again there are those who regard it as virtue to say, virtue is necessary, but after all they believe only that policemen are necessary. And many a one who cannot see men's loftiness calleth it virtue to see their baseness far too well. Thus calleth he his evil eye virtue.
Here he talks of those who believe the nature of man is sinful and cannot grow to become virtuous. These types see virtue as awareness of man's sinful nature, and forcing people to act virtuously.
And some want to be edified and raised up, and call it virtue. And others want to be cast down, and likewise call it virtue. And thus do almost all think that they participate in virtue, and at least everyone claimeth to be an authority on good and evil. But Zarathustra came not to say unto all those liars and fools, What do ye know of virtue? What could ye know of virtue?
All these people have it wrong, says Zarathustra, but he doesn't feel that it is his job to tell them that. He has a different intent in this discourse.
But that ye, my friends, might become weary of the old words which ye have learned from the fools and liars, that ye might become weary of the words reward, retribution, punishment, righteous vengeance, that ye might become weary of saying that an action is good is because it is unselfish. Ah, my friends, that your very self be in your action as the mother is in the child, let that be your formula of virtue.
This discourse is meant for the ears of the virtuous, and of his friends, and its main intent is to liberate them from the perceptions of virtue that society instilled in them, especially from their expectation to be rewarded for acting virtuous. Your virtue is something that you should cultivate and enjoy, and not judge by such terms.
Verily I have taken from you 100 formulae, and your virtue's favourite playthings, and now ye upbraid me as children upbraid. They played by the sea, then came there a wave and swept their playthings into the deep, and now do they cry. But the same wave shall bring them new playthings, and spread before them new speckled shells. Thus will they be comforted, and like them shall ye also, my friends, have your comforting, and new speckled shells. Thus spake Zarathustra.
Zarathustra knows that his words will upset a lot of people, as it will shake their worldview. They were very proud of their virtue, and here he comes like a wave and takes it away from them, into the sea. But he promises that his wave brings better joys, if they understand and internalize his message.